Greetings and great things. It is Q Talks once again, and I am back with another video for you for our Black Swan Theory podcast, which is ongoing. And the topics come as and when they do, as and when I receive them. But this topic I have already written down a while ago, and today we are going to be discussing the concept of being born too old. And if you are in this community, you're watching this video, you resonate with the idea of being a black swan, which I have videos about that. If you want to know what that means, there are black sheep and there are black swans. I have explained that in a previous YouTube video. Check it out, it's about 10 minutes long. But essentially, today, I want to bring this topic forward to you because, like I said, I feel it's something that you will likely relate to if you are here. First of all, bear with me and the lighting. I have artificial lighting here, natural light coming through the window, which is changing, and I'm going to try to make this video short so that I don't have to move around because of the sun. So, I have my notes as always that I am referring down to on my phone. So if I look away from the camera, that is the reason why. So, first of all, I hope you guys have been well. I feel like it's been a little while since I've uploaded a video, but I am always here. I'm always present. So, yeah, I just wanted to say hi and wish you a happy new year. The first video was like at the start of the year, and we are now towards the end of the first month. So I'm doing pretty good, and I hope you guys are too. Ooh, the light. Ooh, the light. Anyways, let's talk about this feeling, right? This idea, this concept of being born too old. So, you could relate to this if you've ever felt like you've arrived in this world already tired, like you have skipped a certain phase that others, you know, got to live. So, for example, childhood, which I can relate to that. I think, my childhood was cut quite short once I moved to this country. So, I pretty much stopped operating as a child, as far as I'm aware, from the age of about 5 or 6, maybe in some other ways mentally prior to that. So you can also relate to the idea of feeling like you're kind of watching your life but not in your life. This is not a flaw, okay? This is natural. Natural when you've experienced life in a certain type of way. Because black swans, we don't blend in, we arrive here different automatically. This is why I love using this term black swan. And I like the idea of the black swan compared to the black sheep because, yes, the word black itself is synonymous with taboo, right? And these creatures, these animals that come out darker, black, are sometimes seen as that. But I think with sheep, it's more so. With swans, it's like a spectacle of beauty, something to behold. And that's what I see us as. That's what I see this community as. That's what I think when I think of other people going through life the way that I have had to, or the way I am going through life, right? So when you've had to mature too early and you've had to be responsible before you were ready for that, you've had to be serious and had to display seriousness where you should have been experiencing a sense of safety, and you've had to, again, become very deep as a person before you even got to play as a child. This has an impact on you because you start to learn to be, you know, the perfect quote is there comes a time to put childish things aside, right? But when you are a child, and you put childish things aside, it has a profound impact on your development and your identity, because at an age when you should not be having that kind of thought or feeling, there you are formulating the idea that you have to be more aware than you get to be innocent and naive, right? For whatever reason, whether that's because of things that happened or the environment that you were in that showed you that it was not safe for you to rely on your environment. You had to rely on yourself. This is not something that is natural when you are a child, because you know that you are subject to your environment. You are being told constantly that you are subject to your environment, right? You don't have control, you don't have autonomy, you shouldn't have to do things alone, even though for some people this was the case, and for some people they were completely alone. So, this is why you will be able to resonate with this. It's not about being mature or even being arrogant. Sometimes people think this is a great quality, right? And you probably will have experienced that in your life. People telling you, oh, you're so mature for your age. You're mature, you're mature, you're mature, you're mature. Such a good thing. But it's not about that. It's not about that. It's about the fact that you had to adapt at an early age to survive. This happens to us because, like I said, the environment that we're in my case, I was in an environment with caretakers and people that did not foster a sense of safety. So at a young age, I began to feel internally unsafe, mentally unsafe. And as a result of that, I overcompensated for that feeling, because I did not even feel that I could express that feeling. So instead, I became very rational, shall we say. Like, I started to perform, I'm being okay, not needing help, not needing assistance, not needing comforting, because I felt that not only could my environment not provide that at the times that I did maybe need that, it was communicated to me that this was inconvenient, or I was perhaps made to feel, not intentionally, that this was a burden, this was not a priority. So I in turn taught myself and started to behave in ways that made sure that I did not prioritize the fear, the need for comfort, anything like that, because there was no time for that, right? These childish things put aside. This emotional neglect or instability, like I said, because for some people it's different. Some people may not have had caretakers, or you were being maybe abused in different type of ways by the people that were supposed to be caring for you, which will have caused you to feel this way. Whether you were being neglected, actually, or emotionally, as in my case, or mentally, or whether or not you were just in a very chaotic environment that did not allow you to breathe as a child, that did not allow you to enjoy and to play. This causes you to develop an internal identity where you start to sit back and observe. You want to mediate, you want to be strong. However, again, the issue comes in this happening before it should be happening, before you have the formative years, before you have an understanding of life, of the world. Because when children form these sorts of ideas, they are always going to be flawed, because our children, we don't know what life is yet. We don't know what is actually happening in the world. So the conclusions that we will draw in our mind will 9 times out of 10 be based in something that is not necessarily correct and not healthy. Even though it's saving and protecting us, we are trying to do the best that we can, and we were trying to do the best that we could as children. It's still not conducive, especially as we start to grow older, as we actually start to understand life and what is happening around us. But for whatever reason, we still feel these thoughts and ideas coloring the way we look at the world, or the way we show up in the world, the way we look at ourselves. It's about survival. Some children, such as myself, we matured not because we wanted to, but because we had to. There was no other choice. It was a must, right? So, this, like I said, showing up now when we're older, it's can show up in different ways, because you can feel like you're always older than your peers, which I experienced this when I was in school, and I still experience this now. I am in my 20s, my late 20s, but I don't know, sometimes I feel like like I've been alive for too long. Like, not to say that in any negative sort of way, but it feels like it's been years. Like I could, like my mentality feels like, are you sure it's not been 40 years? So if you can relate to that, drop a comment, let me know. It could be struggling with day-to-day things, lightness, small talk, play, because you didn't learn how to have that as a child, and that wasn't normal. You even taught yourself as a child that you could not prioritize that. So now when you're older, it feels like light things, childish things, playful things are unnecessary, futile, pointless, a waste of time. You can find yourself craving depth in relationships. And oftentimes that depth can be related to these unmet needs when you were a child, but also a part of you that is struggling to connect with yourself. Feeling out of sync with timelines is a big one. So you feel older than your peers, but you're not. You feel older than adults, but you aren't. You felt older or had to be older when you were a child, and now you're getting older and you're realizing you're never going to be a child again, but you never got to be a child. And that itself can do a huge number on you, because humans need time to process, and every stage of life is essential. This is why, when it comes to life, youth, children itself, I take it quite seriously. I have, my own opinions about that, because I think that when you are young, what happens around you and how you perceive the world, not only is it out of your control, it's pivotal, it's formative, and it's crucial to how your life and life itself will continue on, right? So when you are unable to have the first stage of your life to be formulated in a certain kind of way, the knock-on effect that has as you grow older, it can be detrimental. I know this because I felt it myself, because like I said, you will find that the child within you is still looking for a place where it's allowed to be. And as you get older, you are expected to be less immature, right? And this is the contradiction about it. You're already mature, So you don't necessarily need to mature like other people around you. You don't need to look at life a certain kind of way because you were already looking at life like that since you were a child. And now, as you're getting older, you're craving what you missed out on, what you didn't receive as a child. But the world and the society doesn't see a place for that for you. It doesn't see a need to provide that to you because a lot of people already had that or would have imagined and thought that you've already had that. And, you know, I'm chasing the sun here, guys. And yeah, you are now getting older. It's children that we treat a certain kind of way, right? Or we try to have a care and regard for. But once you get older, and the older you get, the less grace you are given. Sometimes, at times when you need that the most, especially if you relate to this topic. Never feel that you don't deserve patience, understanding. You do. And you always have. So, yeah, the last symptom of this or sign of this in adulthood can be burnout disguised as wisdom. So, I also relate to this a lot because I had to spend a lot of time making sense of the environment around me and making sense of life because I did not have a caretaker who was able to do that for me or assist me in doing that or do that for themselves. So the impact that that has is, again, it becomes a game of survival. It becomes, I must know. I have no choice but to be aware. Because if I don't, nobody else will, and I won't be safe, and I won't be saved, and I won't be cared for, and nobody else will help me. So I have to help myself at all times, by any means necessary. This is exhausting, and it's hard for other people to see that in you because they see you carrying yourself with such maturity, with such knowing, with wisdom, right? So they think or they feel that all is well, or that you are even somebody who can help and assist them. But what people don't see is how tired you are and how you are afraid to be tired because you think that if you stop, if you rest, nobody will help you, nobody will save you. It's a strange thing to have to experience these symptoms, these feelings that go with feeling like you were born too old. You were already born of age, older than the people who maybe even brought you into this world. You don't feel behind. You don't even necessarily feel ahead. You feel both these things conflicting at the same time. Often you feel out of time, out of sync with time, and it's difficult to relay this and explain this to others. This brings us to how do we remedy? Currently, if we haven't already, and in many ways, this is a daily process, we grieve the childhood that we didn't get right because it is sad. It is something to mourn, right? That child in you, like I said, is watching you get older and older and realizing that that's it. The games you wanted to play, the friends you wanted to have, the hugs you wanted to feel and to get, the attention that you wanted, that you deserved, it's not coming to that child. Not in the way that it might have wanted and needed it at that time. You are conflicting with that within you as you're watching your life move on and move forward, right? It's so important to grieve your own innocence and the fact that in some ways that was taken away from you. To grieve your own ease and ability to be at ease. To grieve the idea of being taken care of, because all children are worthy and deserving of this, right? All of life is. And when you have had to survive by telling yourself that you are not, which is because you could not understand why you weren't receiving it as a child. So the only conclusion you came to was that you are not worthy, you are not deserving, you are not allowed. When these thoughts and these feelings are not acknowledged, when this grief is not felt for however long or however much it needs to be felt, the pain that it forces you to carry is unbearable. It's unnatural, and nobody should have to live in that way. This is why it's so important, again, that you do not diminish or minimize your experience by not allowing yourself to grieve that part of your life. We got deep there, but all is well. At the end of the day, we've heard the term before, being an old soul, right? Being an ancient soul. So it's not like this is new to us, but I still wanted to talk as deeply as I am talking about it now, because I want to always remind us of the power, beautiful power that we have being the people that we are, and how we can move towards empowering ourselves. None of this means that we cannot learn joy, right? It doesn't mean that we are not allowed to soften now in the moments that we find ourselves in, that we can't experience lightness in later aspects of our life. Healing isn't about becoming younger, and we obviously know that we aren't gonna become younger. It's about becoming and feeling freer. And again, it's about acknowledging what lies within, because if not, that inner child can create a lot of issues as we move forward, as we get older, because it's looking for our attention, because it deserves it. We don't rush joy here, okay? We earn it. We don't force it. So when it comes to this, what I'm explaining and talking about right now, it took me time to get to where I am today. And there was a lot of time. I remember specifically being around 23 when I really realized that, yeah, I'm not going back. I'm not gonna be young. I'm not like younger. I'm not gonna have childhood. I'm gonna continue to mature, and I have to be kind to myself. I have to allow myself to feel joy, because I cannot live a life where I am convinced that I am not allowed, that I do not deserve, that I cannot find this because it was lost to me when I was a little girl. I cannot keep pushing myself to work, to achieve, to show up without acknowledging the fact that there was a time when I shouldn't have had to do that, and I still wasn't allowed to. So why should I feel that the only thing I'm allowed to feel is continuously moving and chasing forward and being better and being mature and being an adult and doing everything alone and not needing anybody and not having fun and taking everything seriously, when I had to start doing that when I was 5 or 6, I deserved to feel relaxed. I deserved to rest. It took me a long, long time to be able to nap because I did not nap as a child, as a well, maybe as a young child, but as a teenager, as a young adult, I've always been hyper vigilant because of having to adopt that as a sort of a safety mechanism, being young, feeling like you can't trust your environment, you have to scan your environment, you have to be safe. So this hypervigilance stayed in me and it's prevented me from resting. So I would find myself at moments where I should be relaxing, doing nothing, and I'm trying to understand and I'm looking at it like a task. Like, I need to relax. Now is the time to relax, so I'm relaxing. Like, it's not me actually being at ease. It's still me expecting from myself and looking like being hard on myself. And that is not what you need moving forward. Like I said, you are allowed to feel all the things that you didn't get to feel, and you're allowed to be the one to give it to yourself. If nobody else will, if nothing else in your environment will, and you don't have to explain that or to be able to explain that. Show them this video if you need to. But the point is that you deserve it. And if you need to give it to yourself, however you need to give it to yourself, please do. Because your inner child will thank you and your future self will also thank you. Because that inner child will stop crying, hiding, shouting, throwing tantrums that affect you, and you know how they affect you. So, if you, my beautiful black swan, look at the sun, look at where we've gone. I started over here and I've come all the way over here. If you feel older than your years, you're not broken, okay? You simply adapted and now you get to choose who you become. Nothing about the way that you had to survive is wrong. And everything about the way that you treat yourself now is what will make it right. I love you, as always. Let me know if this resonates. This is an open community. I always want us to speak so we can see other people in the comments and know that I'm not alone. I share my story. I come on here to show you that you are not alone and that you have a home outside of your home within yourself. And yeah, if you resonate, like I said, if you want to talk more about it, if you have any questions, comment. If there's a future topic or idea or something you would like me to discuss, I will make a podcast episode just for you, so don't hesitate. And for the rest, keep loving and taking care of yourself. Until the next time. Bye-bye.